We're delighted at Cory Band to once again have linked up with Paul Raphael for this year's European Own Choice piece, and we'll be playing the world premiere of his Explorers on the Moon, which is the follow-up to his Destination Moon of a couple of years ago. Paul's not able to be here with us today, so I'm going to speak on his behalf and just tell you a little bit more about the piece. 2019 is, of course, 50 years since Neil Armstrong became the first human being to set foot on the moon, and that's why we've decided to do this world premiere this year. Once again, the music takes its inspiration from the stories and adventures of Tintin, written by the Belgian author Georges Remy, whose pen name was Hergé, and these moon stories were actually written in 1950, so nearly 20 years before it actually became reality, showing great prescience from the author. So our new piece, Explorers on the Moon, is in 3 sections. Those of you that heard Destination Moon will know that it finished inconclusively with the moon rocket flying towards the moon and vanishing as a speck in the night sky. Well, our new piece starts exactly where the old one ended off, and we hear the rocket coming back into focus. And the first part of the piece actually shows all of the protagonists in this story, Tintin and Captain Haddock and Professor Calculus, all waking up from the sleep which has been induced after the rocket took off from Earth. So one by one, the people wake up and then they realise that they are actually on their way to the moon, and there's a real sense of wonder in the music. There's a fabulous picture in the storybook of the human being's first sight of the Earth from a long, long distance away. And Paul tells me it was very important for him to portray this great sense of wonder through the music. Then the rocket hurtles headlong towards the moon, and then it attempts its first ever landing procedure, and the first section of our piece ends with the rocket landing on the surface of the moon. The second part of the piece is called Nightmare Land, and in the book it's actually Tintin who is the first person to set foot on the surface of the moon. And he describes it over a message over radio back to the rocket as a place of real desolation and isolation, this nightmare land. And so Paul has portrayed in his music this real sense of desolate loneliness on the planet's surface. It's here we get to the heart of the story. One of the scientists on board the rocket ship, Frank Wolf, has actually been involved in some sabotage and treachery. And so his plan is to leave some of the adventurers on the moon and to take the rocket ship back to Earth on his own. And so this dark side of human nature also comes through in Paul's music here. And the euphonium takes a very important role as the scientist Frank Wolf. The third part of the piece is called The Journey Home. And so the explorers take off from the moon and they travel back to Earth. But because there's actually now too many people aboard the rocket ship because of the stowaway and the treachery, there's not enough oxygen. And so the scientist Frank Wolf, who's actually overcome with guilt, decides to make a sacrifice of himself. And he takes himself away and opens the outside door to space, and he just lets himself float off and commit suicide in space so that the others have enough oxygen to return to Earth. And return to Earth they do in grand triumph, which brings an end to this saga of Tintin, Destination Moon, and now Euro 2019, Paul Raphael's Explorers on the Moon.